Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the She's Got GAWL podcast, brought to you by the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers. I am so excited. I have a special guest for you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. Somebody we've been trying to get on for a minute, and when you hear from her, you're going to know exactly why we did not give up. We kept plugging along. She's a very busy lady, but she is here tonight. Our very special guest is Dr. Barbara Joy Jones Parks. And Dr. Parks, I'm sorry, let me do that right. Dr. Jones Parks, hello, is a board certified family medicine physician, and she's proficient in osteopathic manipulative treatment and is a sought after on air medical expert contributor, most recently on HLN as their COVID-19 expert. She is the chief medical officer of the Healthy Woman Primary Care in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And along with practicing comprehensive integrative primary care medicine, she teaches young resident physicians and enjoys motivational speaking. Now, when she isn't doctoring or appearing on national TV, she is modeling, playing basketball, or active with her sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She currently is a model bride in the 2022 Georgia Bridal Runway Show Tour, and she plays basketball in a women's league for former college athletes who still enjoy the game. Now, the model doc, as she's been called, resides in Norcross, Georgia, got married during the pandemic to her husband, Lewis, and loves to travel. Please help me welcome Dr. Barbara Joy Jones Parks. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You need one of those things like the DJs or the MCs have that have like the audience and the
I know. We got to get one of those. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are incredibly busy. And before we dive right in, so she's going to be sharing with us primarily some tips and tactics that we busy professional women can employ almost immediately to have better health, and then also to enhance our well-being. And we'll get to that. But let me just say this. She has as part of her bio that she got married during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, what a wedding it was.
Yes.
So we were all thrilled when she got engaged. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is so great. It's going to be wonderful. And, COVID didn't want nobody to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And so the model doc said, you know what? I'm getting married during the pandemic. That's how I'm a roll. And it was during the time when we weren't going outside. Like nobody was going outside. Everything was shut down and all the things. And so we started getting these announcements and details and so on. And I was thinking, how are they going to pull this off? Like in a virtual fashion? Like, how are they going to, y'all, if you weren't there, you missed it. That's all I can tell you. It was the most beautiful. It was the most and I remember thinking, I didn't realize I've been sitting in front of the computer this long. It's over already. It was fantastic. And I'll have to say that when I looked at you, Barbara Joy, and I looked at your husband, Lewis, it was clear to all involved that for y'all were the only two people on the planet. It was so amazingly beautiful. And you pulled it off in stellar fashion during a pandemic. And I talked about that wedding for I don't know how long, because I just had never seen it done like that. So congratulations, newlywed.
Thank you. And it's so funny because one of the women who helped me with the wedding, her whole family, her husband and her kids were watching. And the husband said, you never stopped smiling. You were always on. I was annoyed by you being always on. I said, I'm not on. This is not like modeling or acting. Like I'm legitimately happy. I'm dancing. I'm with my husband. I'm at a wedding. So when I was on, every time the videographer was filming me, because I was legitimately happy. I'm not putting on like not smiling, and then when the camera comes around, I'm smiling. No, we all smiling and dancing and having a good time the whole time.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. It was clear that you all were thoroughly enjoying yourselves, thoroughly enjoying your guests, and it was just beautiful. Everything about it was beautiful.
And it was actually from Sister Circle when I went on with them.
Yeah.
The two videographers that were at Sister Circle Live when I went on air with them I took them and I hired them to be the videographers. So they had like super high quality cameras.
Oh, for sure.
And so instead of spending money on the food for people, I spent money on the like super top notch videographers with high quality cameras. So it would be like you guys were there.
Oh my God, it was amazing. I didn't realize I was in front of the screen that long. They did a fantastic job. They really, really did. And so I got off topic. I'm sorry about that. But I do want to lead into a question that you've probably answered dozens of times, if not more. When did you know that you wanted to be a physician? Like, are you one of the people that kind of knew from very early, or did something happen in your life that kind of prompted that career path? When did you know?
So when I was young, around 10, my grandmother's name, who's also Barbara, who I'm named after, I used to rub her feet. And so she used to let me know, like, wow, you have healing hands. Now at 10, you don't necessarily understand what that means.
Right.
But you know, fast forward that foreshadowing. You know, nobody really went to college in my family. So it was on the radar because I played basketball in college.
Sure.
But I didn't think that after that there was anything. But it was like that first freshman year, I got a 4.0. And so that actually encouraged me to say, hey, there's actually options for you because you're in college and got a 4.0. So that's, you must be smart or something. And so I started to major in biology. And then I actually went to Loyola Marymount University out in Los Angeles for my senior year. And the reason why I left to Los Angeles because I wanted to pursue modeling and acting.
Sure.
And so going out there, I hustled for a good 6 to 8 months trying to do the whole modeling and acting thing. Didn't work out for me. Not a very good actress. Didn't get any callbacks. And then as far as modeling at that time period back in 2005, what was in was beautiful chocolate or beautiful vanilla. So here I am, this mixed chick. They didn't know where to put me. They didn't understand. So there was no place for me. Also, I was an athlete. So believe it or not, at 5'11", at that time period, I was 163, and that was too much. They would have preferred me to be like 145 or 150, like a size, 0, 2, and here I am, a size 8. That's too big, honey.
Wow.
So after that, I went back to what I knew, what Grandma Barbara said. You have healing hands. So what does that mean? So I applied to medical school that first go round because I didn't have anybody else that had gone. I applied to 22 schools and got 22 rejection letters. Ooh. Because even though I was capable, it doesn't matter if I am who I am, if I can't convey that through the application process and what I write on paper. I didn't have that blueprint. I didn't have that help. So then I had to go back to the drawing board and get help, retake the MCAT, and learn how to actually look good on paper so that I could get an interview. Because once I got the interview, I'm going to blow you away in person. But
for sure.
Bring me in. So that's kind of how I knew. Grandma told me I had healing hands. I wasn't a good actress, didn't get any callbacks. And then it was like, hey, let's go be a doctor.
And here we are. We are. So speaking about becoming a doctor, and this might sound like a random weird question, but do they teach bedside manner in medical school? And let me tell you why I'm asking that. And let me just give the audience some context. So not too long ago, I found myself on the other side of a healthcare journey. I was incredibly ill, and I had gone to a number of specialists, in primary care, this specialist, that specialist. They had tested every part of my body, and all my tests were coming back negative, but I was still very sick, to the point where some of the physicians were trying to give me Xanax, I think, because they thought it was just all in my head. And I had the good fortune to be able to talk to you. And that was a really low point in my life. Being sick is already low, but not knowing what the cause is lower. And not having physicians that you go to believe you is kind of like the lowest, right? And I remember our conversations, and I remember always feeling after we talked, I felt heard, I felt informed, I felt hopeful. And all of those things, I really truly believe led to the healing that was to come later, right? You never rushed me through. You always listened. Even if I was saying something that was, kind of crazy because, I was sick,
Mm-hmm.
you listened and steered me back. Um, and you always told me the truth. And so I wasn't experiencing that with all of these other physicians and specialists and all the people that I was seeing. And then so it just, that's where the question, like, so maybe they don't teach bedside manner in medical school. I don't know, maybe that's just a gifting that some people have. And I was just curious about it after that. Like, do they teach bedside manner? If I'm making sense, you know what I mean by bedside. Like, I
Um,
guess in other places they might call it customer service, I suppose. But
right. I would say that is more subjective, and what they objectively look at is your MCAT score, your GPA, and all those things that have numbers. Did you pass? Did you not? How much did you pass? That will
right,
get you into school. And most schools would like their numbers to look excellent.
okay,
Would they, of course, want somebody to have those soft skills and be human and have empathy and sympathy? Sure, but they're going to look at the numbers first and then maybe try to help you have bedside manner. I think another thing that comes into play when somebody has bedside manner is being non-traditional or having life experiences. I feel that a
mm.
lot of students who are very traditional, that 18 to 22 go to undergrad and then get into medical school, and you're 22 in 2 months, that and then going through medical school, that if you haven't been out in the real world to experience trials and tribulations yourself, financially, health wise, socially, that you don't necessarily have empathy because you haven't had that experience.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
recognized that what made me better was when I did fail and get 22 rejection letters, spending that extra 18 months reapplying. Having a mental breakdown and anxiety attack myself, if I hadn't had that, would I be looking at people with mental illness any differently?
Mm.
Um, you know, Minority community, had an ex-boyfriend. When I was in his presence, he was shot and I took care of him for a year. So just
Wow.
seeing the navigation of things is what contributed to me
Yeah.
having empathy, sympathy, listening. I think it was just a God thing, personality, but also experience. I
Yeah.
think that they do try to teach because in medical school, they do something called step 2 PE, which is physical exam. So they try
Mm-hmm.
to see how you are with standardized patients that are actors and actresses. And
Mm-hmm.
part of that is the bedside manner. So I think that's a multifaceted question with a multifaceted answer.
Sure.
And that's the
Sure.
best that I could do.
Yeah. That really makes a lot of sense though. The way that you've explained that. That really makes a lot of sense. And then looking through the lens of some of my own experiences, I can see it exactly the way that you've described it. But I have to say, um, even with all of that, and during that time you were with another organization, one of the better moments of that year for me was when you reached out to say you were going to be starting your own practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this community just hit the lottery and they don't even know it. They don't even know they just hit the lottery. Oh my goodness.
All
Because
them millions, all them millions.
because having a doctor like you with your own practice, calling your own shots in the community is going to be and has been one of those things that you hope for and you wish for, but honestly, some of us just never get. We just never find.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with that in mind, I know you enjoy your work, your patients love you, and all the things. What made you decide to go out on your own, though?
When I was with the big hospital conglomerate, um, I knew it was time to leave when I was having suicidal thoughts. I do not
Mm,
have anxiety. I do not have depression. But through the pandemic, not necessarily having any days off that were given, all the patients, everybody was going through it. 50% of my patients were crying, and rightfully so. Domestic violence was up, child abuse was up, single mama having to work from home, but then the kids are having to do, schooling from home, or she has daycares won't take kids. So you have to take care of a 3-year-old at home while
mm-hmm.
still working.
Mm-hmm.
it was just a lot. Death, divorce, a lot of stuff. Everybody was going through it. And it just took everything out of me. I was morally injured because being told to see more patients, that it is a business. It is the business of medicine. And so what I came into it for, I felt very morally injured because I came into it to help, but this is a business. Medicine is a business, and that takes precedence over me trying to help, which takes time, effort, and energy. I was trying to be holistic and integrative, but when you're in a conventional model with the hospital system that accepts insurance, you're supposed to get the patient in and out within 10 minutes. But if they're crying for 10 minutes and then I still have to do this, do I literally stay for 12 hours a day
Right.
to take care of them? So if I had to stay late, I was doing what was best for the patient. So here's the thing with conventional medicine, someone has to lose. So is the physician going to keep it to 10-minute appointments and go home at the end of the day and say whatever, like, and just get it done,
Right.
save themselves so that they don't go crazy like I did?
Mm,
Who pays there? The patient,
right.
because they literally came in to say something to the medical assistant and then get a prescription or imaging or a referral, and then they're out. There was really no listening and interaction because you just
Right.
can't.
Right.
Or do what happened to me. The patient wins, but the physician is overworked and
Right.
underappreciated. And I do stay late and I do chart at home and I do all those things, but that's not sustainable. It's
Right.
not sustainable if I want to become a mother, if I want to spend time with my husband. So
Right.
someone has to lose, the patient or the doctor, and it's the system that's
Right.
effed up, you know?
Right.
So
Wow. Well, we're so glad you made the decision that you did to strike out
mhm.
on your own. And your practice is the Healthy Woman Primary Care.
Yes, the Healthy Woman Primary Care. So this is where the power of networking comes into play. So when I knew that I had suicidal ideations, what I would think is, I hope an 18-wheeler hits me on the way to work so I don't gotta go. And then nobody can say anything to me. She got hit by an 18-wheeler. You can't tell her to come into work. You just
Oh,
can't.
wow.
So
Wow.
my OB-GYN, Dr. Jocelyn Slaughter Moore, she's my OB-GYN. I'm her primary care doctor. So I was going to her to start working up my fertility. She was looking in my tubes to see if they were open, if there was a way for the egg to meet the sperm. Anyways, I'm in stirrups. We're talking. I'm telling her where I'm at. And she basically just says, well, why don't you come start a practice with me? She's an OB-GYN with 3 practices. And
Okay.
so she basically just said, why don't you come over and we'll open a private practice together? It's the perfect marriage. She's a businesswoman. She knows how medicine works. She has 3 practices that are very successful. And here I am. The perfect marriage is my online presence. My presence in the community is so strong that it was the perfect marriage. I help with podcasts and being on TV and being on magazines and all that stuff, the marketing piece, the digital
Right.
footprint. Then here she is. What she brings to the table is dollars in the bank. I like that. So yeah, it's the
Yeah, we
perfect
definitely
marriage. Yeah.
we like that. We're going to
Mhm.
get to the 3 tips that you're going to offer our audience in just a second, but I wanted to, you mentioned the perfect marriage between primary care and gynecology, or primary care and a specialty. And I don't want to necessarily sound totally uninformed.
Mhm.
Um, but what is primary care versus a physician who has a specialty?
Got you. So primary care is considered the first phase of medicine. The person that you go to for prevention, meaning you go for your yearly exam in which you get baseline labs, and we know if there is a change from your baseline, if something's going on. So you have your baseline, and then we also manage chronic conditions that we can take. So I'm family medicine board certified, and we would manage things like high blood pressure, diabetes. We can treat headaches and being overweight, depression, anxiety, the first phase of things in its most simplistic form. If it
Okay.
gets out of my scope. So an example, I'll place someone on 2 high blood pressure medicines. If it's not at goal and you need a third, you're going to cardiology.
Okay.
Diabetes, if your A1C that says how bad or how good it's controlled, if it's constantly above 10, I'm going to send you to the endocrinologist, the specialist who that's all that they do.
Right.
Um, So primary care, first phase of medicine, you can stay with them lifelong. A specialist is someone who knows a lot about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if we need to do something with penises and your bladder, I'm going to send you, to the urologist, or if we
Right.
need something with kidneys, it's the nephrologist. So the way that I work with my business partner, Dr. Slaughter, is I can do primary women's health where I do a mammogram and a pap smear, but if there's anything abnormal, you're going to her for the colposcopy and the biopsy. You're
Right.
going to her for the Nexplanon or the IUD insertion, any of that. So, or if you get pregnant, 8 weeks off with her, come see me
Yeah.
8 weeks postpartum.
Got it. So that kind of leads me to something that I had heard before, and now listening to you, I don't think may be quite accurate, is that
Mhm.
especially as women, as long as we have a great gynecologist, that we wouldn't really need a primary care physician. But listening to you, I don't think that's accurate.
Would you deduce yourself that the only organs you have is a breast and a vagina? No, right? You have a heart, you have kidneys, you have lungs, you have a whole head, you got hands, you got feet. So primary care basically is whole person medicine. And then
Right,
if it's out of my scope, so I know a little bit about everything. And then
right.
if it's a little bit too complex outside of the scope of what I know a little bit, then I'll send you to the specialist.
I
But
see.
for OB-GYN, if you have a thyroid issue or high blood pressure during pregnancy or things like that, you're still going to come to me. Or if you have depression during pregnancy, you're going to come to me.
Right.
So we work hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she'll do the visits where she does ultrasound of the baby and the heart rate of the baby and all that stuff. But then if a woman has thyroid issue or high blood pressure, they're coming to me and then they're going back to her. Yep.
So ladies, you need more than a gynecologist, okay?
Yes,
That's the
you
moral of
do.
that's the moral of that part of the story. And so most of our audience are, professional, busy women, like yourself, who are just kicking butt and taking names all over the place. But with that, a lot of times comes, I think, putting ourselves on the back burner,
Of
taking
course.
care
Yeah.
of all the things, the children, the husband, the business, the practice, whatever it is, it usually falls ahead on the list of us. And
Mhm.
so one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on is because we wanted to see if you might be able to help our busy selves, with just maybe, 3 tips or so, things that are not terribly strenuous necessarily, and you won't feel like you have to rearrange your whole life to do,
Mhm.
and that we can kind of gradually move towards better health and better wellness, if we could do those. So what would you advise to be the first thing that the busy
So
woman can do?
a couple of things come to mind. One of the first things is when you first wake up, putting a timer on or counting breaths, meaning when you first wake up, take deep breaths. So I'll put a timer on for 3 minutes, and basically it's basically meditation, and you're basically concentrating on the breath in, hold it, and then the breath out. So there's something called box breathing that somebody in the military came up with, and it's count of 4. So I'm going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then inhale again and start that. So if you can do that, and maybe you wake up and you say, I'm going to do 10 of them, that starts where you actually get oxygen to the brain, and you're working your diaphragm, which is this muscle down here when you breathe. And it basically just starts the day off right. So you can do affirmations, 10 deep breaths, and box breathing. So starting the day off with deep, deep breathing. That's one. And I do
Okay.
that every morning too. And the reason why I say that you should do that is because it doesn't take a lot of time. You can
Yeah.
literally time out and just do 2 minutes, and you're thinking positive thoughts and getting ready for the day. You basically are being assertive and proactive about starting your day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would say is when you are going to sleep, a lot of people will sleep with their phone underneath their pillow or very close to them. So I have an iPhone, and if you see this, basically that is Wi-Fi, that is satellite, and that is Bluetooth. That is 3 electromagnetic frequencies coming in and out of my body all the time.
Mm.
So at night, I'm going to press basically airplane mode and turn all of those off. Why?
Wow.
Because your deep restorative sleep is delta wave sleep. So it's a wave. So if you have three electromagnetic frequencies waves doing this and you're trying to get into delta waves,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to
Mm-hmm.
get deep restorative
Right.
sleep? You won't. You won't.
Yeah.
So what can you do? At nighttime when I'm not on call, I'm gonna put my phone on airplane mode and
Okay.
put it on. Or if you do need to hear your phone because you're a mama or you're on call or this and that, charge it basically diagonal across the room so that the electromagnetic frequencies aren't interfering with you getting into deep restorative sleep. Let me see. A third thing would be to get a multivitamin. Get some people. Oh, I hear people say just eat your vitamins and minerals, but that's not going to be the case. We can't because of the way that industrialized farming is. They used to do something called rotate the crops. So one crop in this plot of land, as it grows, it's going to replete the soil with some sort of vitamin and mineral as it absorbs a vitamin and mineral, and you eat it. And then the next year you rotate it. With industrialized farming, we don't get zinc, we don't get magnesium because you're literally growing corn in this plot of land for like 25 years. So
Wow.
it's fiber, but it's not vitamins or minerals or any of that. So I
Right.
would say get a multivitamin. Another bonus one is vitamin D. So vitamin D is you need it for your immune system, your mood, and your bones. So it was made very popular during COVID when many people passed away from COVID who were vitamin D deficient, but it's very good for mood, bones, and your immune system. For a Black person, you would want it to be between 50 and 60 on the lab value. And most people that I see when I draw their labs are between like 5 and like 20. It's very low. It's a little bit below.
Mm.
So
Wow.
what I tell people to do is go to Vitacost or Amazon and get a vitamin D3 with K2 supplement. So why would I say that? Vitamin D3, the job is okay. So when we have bones, we're going to release a little bit of calcium into the bloodstream because our muscles and our heart need calcium to beat, right? So then we would pee and poo the calcium out unless vitamin D was there. So vitamin D says, oh, no, 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 calcium. We need to keep you in the body. So
Okay.
it causes reabsorption of the vitamin of the calcium, right? But have you heard of calcification of the arteries? When calcium stays in the bloodstream, it can harden our arteries. So then that's
Mm.
where vitamin K comes in, where the vitamin K says, hold up. We need the calcium to go back into the bones. Go where you're needed over there. Don't stay in the
Okay.
vessels. So they work in synergy. So I
Okay.
tell people to get vitamin D3. You can take 4,000 to 5,000 international units daily, and then you can get a vitamin K2, and they're actually in a dual pill where it's one pill, like 100 milligrams a day. So
Okay.
that's my thought.
That is amazing. And because what I'm sorry, I'm just flabbergasted. This is such great information. And I recall this type of information from when you were helping me through my situation and being very what I was calling holistic. I don't know if that's the medical term
Mm-hmm.
for it or not.
Yes.
And just talking through things that we don't necessarily always hear about because medicine is, I guess, treated a different way. But I feel like everything that you just mentioned, from doing the box breathing, to making sure that you're turning on your airplane mode, to making sure you get your vitamin D and get a like, who among us can't do those? Like, really, I mean, and one of the things that I love about the way that you practice is that not only do you make it as convenient as possible, whatever the recommendation is, because as a busy woman yourself, you can fully relate to the challenges of trying to
Mm-hmm.
do all the things. But even the way you just broke that down and explained it, and y'all, this is how she practices medicine, I promise. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just for this interview. Um, and that's why I was so thrilled to hear you going out on your own. But even with simple tips like this, that I feel like anybody could possibly do, what advice would you have for those of us who still might be having a challenge prioritizing our own well-being, our own health?
You're definitely gonna have to, just like you cut out time to take the kids to soccer. You cut out time to go to work. You cut out time for this and that. You're actually going to, self-care is not something passive that just happens. It's something that you actively choose and cut out for yourself. So I always look at this, that if this is neutral, what usually happens is, and what happens to me and a lot of people is, you're up here. What does that mean? You have some reserve. So what happens is you're up here and you have energy, and then little by little, you're not doing anything to help yourself. So slowly but surely, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not eating well. You're not exercising. You're not getting sleep. And then all of a sudden you're at neutral. You're still good because you're at neutral. And then all of a sudden you topple over and you're below neutral. Like you're just worn out. You're burned out. You don't feel well. It's not that this happened at the very moment that you felt it. It's just that your body had so much energy in reserve from youthfulness, just period, that you have been working on getting to burnout for a very long time. You just feel it here.
Wow.
So it's like marriage, it's like anything. You have to constantly work on it. If you want to stay here, you have to constantly, there will be tons of stressors, divorce, death, working, the news, monkeypox now, it was COVID, all this and all that. Well, actually COVID's still here, but if you don't actively choose on a daily basis to get a little bit of reserve, to work a little bit, you're just going to fall down here. Or even at neutral, as soon as something traumatic or stress inducing, you're going to fall below and you're going to feel terrible. And it manifests in different people in different ways. Some people continually have headaches. Other people have constipation or diarrhea or stomach pains. Some people have palpitations. Some people have headaches. Some people have some sort of musculoskeletal pain that doesn't go away. It is your body's red flag of saying you need to do something. It's screaming at you. So there's so many times when people come in saying that this hurts or this is happening, and it all started from stress and lack of sleep and eating trash, and that's the way that your body's screaming out to you. So you have to make time for that. You just have to. Even if you just carve out 10 minutes a day where you literally put your phone to the side. So for me, one other simple way that I tell people to do self-care is have an electronic free lunch break just for 10 minutes. Now, what does that mean? If you can walk outside in your neighborhood or walk outside of your building and you put your phone on airplane mode so that you don't have those electromagnetic frequencies coming in and out of your body, and you literally are bored. What we do is we use our phone as entertainment. We never have a chance to be bored and rest. And don't you think that constantly being on your phone is going to cause anxiety and sadness and depletion of and fatigue? Of course it is. So every single day at lunch, I will choose 10 minutes that I carve out. I will put my phone on airplane mode and I'll literally walk for 10 minutes. And then, just walk for 10 minutes. I'm bored. Well, not necessarily bored. That's when I come up with ideas. That's when I'm creative. That's when my mind has a chance to rest because I just worked my butt off in AM clinic. I give my all in AM clinic and I'm resetting myself for PM clinic. So a 10-minute electronic free lunch break or walk with my phone on airplane mode, I think that anybody can carve out 10 minutes and take a walk with their phone on airplane mode.
So ladies, this is very doable. She hasn't said do 100 of anything. It's been like 2 of this or 3 of that or 10 of that. Like we can actually do this. But we have to prioritize ourselves. And I'm saying ourselves because I have been that person who has failed to do that. And there's a price to be paid for it. Ultimately, there is a price to be paid for that. I thank you so much for stopping by. I know you are incredibly busy. I'm so thrilled that you were actually able to carve out some time for us. Your manner of practicing medicine is much needed. And I can say from personal experience, very much appreciated. You all, she is the founder of the Healthy Woman Primary Care. You can find her in Lawrenceville. And she didn't ask me to do that, but I'm doing it because I believe in everything that she said and everything she stands for. This has been Dr. Barbara Joy Jones Parks on this episode of the She's Got GAWL podcast, brought to you by the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers. We'll see you next time.
That was wonderful.